Jenna, can you read your number one again?
I'm terrified with the vaccine because it will cause more widespread death.
Okay. And your situation was you were reading an article, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I invite everybody who's listening or following this along, just to try and get there yourself with that thought. So a vaccine. So just thinking about that vaccine, and then the thought comes, it will cause more widespread death. The vaccine for coronavirus will cause more widespread death. And as Jenna does her work, the invitation is just to follow along and do your own work. Mm-hmm. So, Jenna, a vaccine will cause more widespread death. Is that true?
Yes.
So, can you absolutely know that that's true? That a vaccine will cause more widespread death?
No.
So just notice, how do you react? What happens when you're believing the thought that a vaccine will cause more widespread death?
Well, first I see images of everyone either running to the vaccine or being forced to take it. And I'm just so distraught. I see images of people feeling so hopeful and it being built up as, everybody's going to be better and all this awful shit's going to be behind us, and then people will be killed. And and I hear myself saying this out loud to people, and people getting really angry at me, getting death threats, like being so hated in my family, like annoying to people, etc. Just like it was my past images when I started preparing my family for this really early, and everyone thought I was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, people were just like, seriously, like giving me talks, like trying to talk me off the ledge, serious talks. And just being so terrified for everyone. I feel so much what is that? It's like my body's kind of shaky right now. Reading this article, I'm like having a panic attack. Just the ins and outs and the familiarity of vaccines and viruses this person seemed to have, it was so convincing. And I'm angry too. I'm really angry that we are so convinced that vaccines are the unquestionable, like, God thing of, I don't know. It's like you cannot question a vaccine. It's like it has some kind of power over us.
So how do you treat vaccines, and how do you treat the scientists when you believe that thought that vaccines will cause more widespread death?
The vaccine is just evil and misunderstood, and just not, we're not capable of understanding what we create. It's just not. And the scientists are wonderful, and I know they're working so hard, and there's some that are, they're working for corporations. They're just working for corporations. And in the US, the FDA, the policy is to not hold vaccine companies accountable for any wrongdoing. It's the law.
Right.
So
And
there's no reason for them to. Oh, sorry. What's the question?
well, in the moment when you're really, really believing that vaccines will cause more widespread, like, how are you treating all those people involved in making vaccines? Just in that moment when you're believing it.
I don't trust them.
Right. So just feel that in your body.
Yeah. Thank you.
And again, the invitation for everybody just to track along with this, just to answer the questions for yourself. And then just notice, Jenna, what does it cost you in this moment, in these days? What is it costing you believing that thought that vaccines will cause more widespread death?
Oh, it's costing me freedom, happiness, a sense of having any kind of life in the future.
Yes.
It's so much premature grief.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just notice how powerful the movies of that future are when you're believing that thought.
Yeah. And it's costing me joy with the people that maybe I don't have very much time left with. Because I see them and I'm just in worry mode.
Right. So just feel worry mode inside of yourself. Feel what that feels like in your body.
My breathing is shallow and it feels just tense and hunched over, leaning into the screen all the time, looking for some other answer than what I think it is.
Right. And what obsession happen, Jenna, when you're believing that thought that vaccines will cause more widespread death? What obsessions happen?
Yeah, I think a obsession with feeling the feelings of rejection and assuming rejection from people. Um, researching more and more and more, trying to find something else, trying to be a teacher, trying to like be in this place of saving people, spreading the word, saving people. And also just not doing that, because I know the popular opinion is not accepting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just not letting myself relax.
Right.
Ever. When I go out into the house, I live with my mother who's 80, who's got a lung condition. So I'm treating the house like a nursing home. And it feels futile and necessary. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. So just taking a breath this moment, feeling your feet on the floor, taking a breath, just to consider a moment. It's like if you could just take that thought off, just like a hat for just a second. It's like, who are you in this moment without that thought that vaccines will cause more widespread death?
I notice I'm just reading one woman's research.
So good to notice.
Yeah, and I see her as brave, and I'm open to other possibilities. And I just get back to where I'm at. Where am I right now?
So
Reading this article.
Where are you? How do you feel right now without that thought?
I'm noticing my breath and really appreciating it. Noticing I heard noise in the house. I think so. My signs of life. My mom is alive still. My body is just melted into the chair, and I have this exquisite voice talking to me from across the planet.
So again, just taking a breath and just really just dropping into you without the thought. It's like really gently just looking at the turnaround. And these turnarounds are there simply to consider. So simply to consider. So what's a turnaround, Jenna? Vaccines will cause more widespread death.
I will cause more widespread death.
So what's an example of that? In what ways does that make sense to you?
I create it in my mind. I see images in my mind. Um,
So that widespread death that you're talking about, they're the movies, they're the pictures that you're seeing,
yeah.
right? And then it's like, and who's creating that? Who's causing that? Is it a vaccine?
Mm.
Is it you?
Yeah, I'm creating that. Um, or God's creating that. Reality is creating that.
Yeah, and who's creating the images? Who's causing the images of widespread death?
I am. I'm saying, yeah, I understand what you're asking. I am causing the images.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then it's just to notice how when it's like when you're believing that thought that vaccines will cause widespread death, how that just happens. It just moves. There's no right or wrong. It's just I create those images. Boom. Mm.
Yeah, there's a softness when I look at it as God creating the images that I'm creating in my head. If that
Mhm.
makes sense. That's why I say that.
Mhm.
Um, whatever God is, which I don't,
Mhm.
have an answer for.
Mhm.
Um,
So try that turnaround. Vaccines will not cause more widespread death.
yeah, I mean, I see pretty clearly that the politics of vaccines are what cause more of the problems. Um, and yeah, that imagined future of it being forced on people. Um, the vaccine is innocent. The vaccine is, it's just a, I don't know what is a vaccine? It's a creation of humanity doing their best.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Vaccines will not cause more widespread death. Just inviting, I just open it to the group here. If anybody else wants to share an example that you can find, vaccines will not cause more widespread death. What comes to you?
Uh, well, I see that there are, in my mind's eye, there are some cultures that gravitate towards vaccines. And there are some cultures that are really respectful towards them, realizing that they're not the be all end all solution to everything. And the second example that I see is even like within the industry, there is respect towards having a vaccine properly tested before it goes on the market.
Right.
So I'm seeing that like professional responsibility to self.
Yeah, and I notice as these examples come, it's like just consider everything as a possibility. It's like just if you can kind of take it on as, okay, is that a possibility? Ah, okay.
Yeah, I see one. I see that this article has been written and you've read it, so you won't be the only person reading it. So other people will be reading this. This is a line of thinking that's out there, that's published. It's not like a secret line of thinking, but can be shared. So there are enough intelligent people that may read this and be part of that conversation.
Mm. My mind goes to, it's like even a kind of a slight shift on that turnaround. It's like no vaccine will cause more widespread death. It's like the possibility that vaccines can actually cure this. um,
Yeah, or that a vaccine wouldn't be causing death in the sense that it's not like a killer, like itself. Like, yes, it might not prevent or cure or protect, but it's not like out on a kind of a target like that, the way that I might think of that.
Yeah, and then turning it again, it's like vaccines cause more widespread life. Just like, and again, it's like, is that a possibility? And especially in relation to coronavirus, is it a possibility? That's all.
Yeah, I do. I mean, my mind immediately sees that hearing that it's going to be fast tracked, that they're skipping animal trials, that they're, they're fast tracking this thing, that it maybe won't be very effective at, and it might cause death. And if it does, it could create an overhaul of especially in the US, where the FDA does not question, there's no accountability held. And maybe that would change.
Right.
And make it so that all vaccines get updated, because so many of them are really out of date. And yeah, it would just be amazing if that happened. Like, I think it would create a balance somehow.
Right. Just all the possibilities that start to show themselves. Yeah. Jenna, thank you so much.